Hi, this is going to basically be a review of the assignment that I gave you guys this week, and that is how to make a panorama. The first thing we do is we go to File, Automate, actually after we click Continue, but we go File, Automate, and we go down to Photo Merge. The Photo Merge dialog comes up, and the first thing it does is ask us what layout we want. We're going to try auto because that's usually the best. So what we do is we go and we find our files. The files here are actually on the SD card right here. And I select all of them, and just holding down the control key, I select all and then click OK. And then I click OK in this dialog, and it will load them all individually. Now what I had done that's probably a little different than what you had done is I actually thought I would see what would happen if I shot my panorama vertically. So I held my camera in vertical, or otherwise known as portrait mode, and you'll notice it brings them in horizontally anyway. But it's going through and it's looking for the common areas, and then it will be blending the photos together, and it's quite interesting to see how it handles it. And the next thing it does, it actually blends the areas as they come together. And it does, I think it'll do a pretty good job making sure that the edges are relatively clean in their transition. And that is what we have. Of course, it looks great. The only problem is we're upside down. So we go up to Edit Image, and we go Image Rotation, and of course we go 180 degrees, and the file rotates in this direction. And you'll notice that it went and it got the perspective correct, but we have some extra area on the canvas, so we're just going to go straight to Control C, or just C alone, I'm sorry, and crop it down to the area that we want our panorama to be, and then of course we hit return. Now the best thing to do if we're relatively happy with that is to go in. I mean, we can go into the individual layers and make an adjustment, but just for this sake of this exercise, we're going to do it as a single flattened file. So we're going to take all these layers and we are going to flatten them by either hitting flatten image or Control E. And now I am actually going to copy this layer, and just to be safe, and then I'm going to go into the curves menu, and for some reason here it's not loading the curves from the shortcut. So we're going to go up to adjustments and we're going to go to curves. I can only guess that it might be sort of a bug in Photoshop 6. So we're going to go and we're going to grab this, and while it's not looking too great, we're going to try a little something else. And there is something called HDR toning. And when we click on that, it kind of takes us a little too cartoony. So, playing with what we got, we can kind of look and see what works. Equalize, histogram, local adaptation. And then you can, play with these, values if you want. Shadows, you know. As you can see, it's not affecting a whole lot here. Highlights, kind of looking yucky. Actually, so I'm not really liking that. So I am going to just kind of play with some of the options here. I'm going to go with photorealistic. It's not very good. I'm not liking that either. So I'm going to just go to default. And if you remember, we did copy the original. So we're converting it. And on one hand, some of that popping out looks good. So we're going to wait for it to convert. And if you remember, we put the other one in the clipboard, and we're actually going to blend the two to make it look a little less cartoon. And as you probably may or may not have noticed, the file is rather large, larger than probably we'll ever use. It's almost, it was 500 megabytes before. Now it's down to 137. So this is where we took it to, and let's see what the original one going over it looks like. All right, actually, the one we just corrected it to isn't too bad. So maybe what we'll do is we'll just kind of work on popping this out a little bit. So we're going to go back to curves and we're just going to play with it just a little bit more. Try and bring out as much as we can in here. So get a little more dark in there and maybe bring this up a little. Okay. Now, if indeed you're going to say, well, you know, this area in here that just looks a little too cartoony, we can grab the lasso and just kind of grab an area there. And we can grab this area. We can add to the area by holding down the Shift key. We're going to want to feather it a little bit. So we go Shift F6, and we're going to hit 99 as our radius because we want it to be soft. And then we can go into Control U, which is hue and saturation, and I can kind of play with this and make it look maybe a little less cartoony. So we're going to select that. This is where we came from. This is where we're at. And, you know, it looks like fall. So we're going to say that's okay. So we're going to save this, Command Shift, and we're going to save it as a panorama. We're going to call it as Pan 2 because I did an early one before, and we're going to save it as a JPEG to the desktop just in case we want to reference it later. So that was it. As you can see, it was relatively easy. Photoshop found the edges and brought it together rather nicely. If you look, our seams are for the most part pretty clean. The only thing that might be a little rough is we do have a certain amount of warping up here in the house. Now, I could go in and work on that, but I'm not going to do it for this exercise because I want to keep it short. So I hope this was helpful. You enjoyed it, and I hope this makes it easier for doing your assignment. Thank you.